Hello students, my name is Ankit Bhaviskar and I am from SOMNATH English Medium School. Today we will start with the new chapter, that is a poem of the 10th standard, and the poem's name is A Dust of Snow. It is written by Robert Frost. Now Robert Frost was an American poet and he received the Pulitzer Award, which is a very prestigious award, for writing this collection of A Dust of Snow. The theme of this poem is that we consider something as a bad omen. For example, if a cat is crossing before you while you are passing by, then it is created a bad omen. Suppose a crow is crowing and pricking on your head, that is said to be the bad omen. Okay, but the poet here shows that the belief that we have endured in ourselves does not imply on everything. The belief that we have endured on ourselves does not imply on everything. So the poet was standing under a hemlock tree and it was a wintry part. What happened was, the hemlock tree was covered with the snowflakes. The hemlock tree was covered with the snowflakes. So while the poet was standing under a hemlock tree, a crow sat upon that tree, and some of the flakes. Now dust here is not about the sand or anything. Dust here means some part of the flakes of snow. The flakes of snow. So what happened? The poet was standing under a hemlock tree, and as you know, hemlock tree is a poisonous. So it is not considered to be as a part to be cherished. It is a poisonous tree, so it is also considered to be attached with the bad omen. Suddenly from nowhere a crow sat on that hemlock tree. कहीं से अचानक से एक crow वहाँ पे hemlock tree के ऊपर बैठ गया. By that what happened? That it shook the tree. Okay, it shook the tree somewhat, and the flakes of the tree, flakes of the snow from the tree fell upon the poet. Fell upon the poet. Now poet who was having rough patch that day, that means he was not having the good mood, he was going through a rough patch that day, he had a change of mood. So it is considered that not everything that we attach with the bad omen is every time bad only, but in this poem it is considered into the change in the attitude of the poet who was going through a bad patch that day. Now let's start with the poem. The way a crow shook down on me. So what was the poet is saying? That a poet was standing under a tree and the whole area was covered with the snow as it was a winter. So a crow sat down on the hemlock tree and the hemlock tree was covered with the snow. And poet was standing under the hemlock tree and the crow sat upon the tree. Okay, the dust of snow from the hemlock tree. So what happened? While the poet was standing under the tree and from nowhere the crow came. Now as I have told you earlier, the crow as well as the hemlock tree are considered to be the bad omen, because hemlock tree is poisonous and it is not, both of the things are not attached to the happiness. It is some like a part of the gloomy part. So what happened is that the dust of snow from the hemlock tree, okay, that means a fine flakes of the snow fell upon the poet. A fine flakes of snow fell upon the poet who was standing right under the hemlock tree. Has given my heart a change of mood. He says that this falling off of the flakes has changed the mood of the poet, because that day he was going from the rough patch. So he is telling that this falling of the snowflakes on him has created a change of attitude in him. And not every time as we attach the crow or the hemlock tree with the bad omen creates a bad impression. In this part, the poet parts away with that. The poet parts away with the feeling of the bad omen or bad belief. Moreover, a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had ruined. Now that day, the condition might be so that poet was going through a very rough patch or he was going through a bad day. But this incident or this moment, what the poet experienced by standing under the hemlock tree, was such that sitting of a crow on the hemlock tree, which was covered with the snow, and from that a flex which came and fell on the poet, it changed the mood of the poet. So this little act of the nature changed the mood of the poet who was going through the rough patch that day, and he said that my whole day is not ruined. And he said that my whole day is not ruined. At least some part of the day is saved. At least some part of the day is saved. Suppose you have a very bad day, whole day, starting from the morning till evening, and suppose your father brings you your favorite thing to eat, or he gifts you, or your mother gives you a very beautiful thing that you are needed or you were not expecting from them. So from that moment your whole day's burden has taken place by that happy moment. The bad moments are replaced by the happy moments. The bad moments are replaced by the happy moments. Like that only the poet says that he was having the rough patch that day, but that moment of the falling of the snow on him, it created a nice impression and it saved its day from being whole bad. That means his whole day was not ruined, at least some part of the day was saved as a part of happiness, and his rough patch of the whole day was overburdened with this act of happiness towards him. I hope you all understand. Thank you.